Just a reminder, please, that this meeting is virtual. We'll be taking doing our voting by roll call. And I should only screw that up at least 2 or 3 times because I think we have 2 or 3 votes to take. A reminder also, you all have a chance to review the agenda. If any of you have any items that are on the agenda this afternoon in which you may be in conflict with financially with yourself or any members of your immediate family, please let us know so we can disqualify you from voting on those particular items. Are there any conflicts? Very good. Kelly, do we have anybody in the waiting room to do public comments?
Not to my knowledge, sir, but we have to do the roll call.
We weren't 3 minutes into the meeting.
Let's see if we're paying attention, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Kelly, what do you think about doing a roll call?
I can do that. Mr. Doyens?
Here.
Miss Adams?
Here.
Mr. McIntosh?
Here.
Mr. Brannon?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Apple?
Here.
Mr. Lane? Mr. Lane?
Here.
Mr. Horn?
Here.
Mr. Hutchins?
Here.
Miss Finney?
I'm here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
And Mr. Willie Clark.
Here.
And that concludes it for our voting members. Is there anybody that I may have missed?
Rick Morris is here.
Got you down.
Good. Members, let me remind you, if I could, please, there is some chatter going on in the background. If you're engaged in some other activities, if you will mute yourself, that would be most helpful. Thank you very much. All righty, Kelly, you have a brief reminder on our ethics.
Yes, sir. It is ethics season again. I will be sending out an email tomorrow morning to that effect. Please fill out the required forms online. I'd be glad to assist in any way that I can. The deadline for ethics submission for existing members is April.
Uh-oh, Kelly froze on us. So not to complete her sentence, but she will be sending out forms to you. And if you will please complete those as soon as possible. And again, they're very self-explanatory. You just need to go through them and then return them. And I believe we don't get those back, but they go to I believe the Secretary of State's office. Is that correct? Or the Board of Elections? They go to one of those places. But if you'll do those, that would be great. So we can make sure that all the committee members meet the ethics obligations that we're required to by the state legislature. All righty, our first item on the agenda this evening is the election of officers. Do we have any nominations? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my pleasure to nominate Mayor Mike Horn as chairman and Mayor Pro Tem Denise Adams as vice chairman. Second.
We had several seconds, but we'll accept. I'm not so sure what was Mr. Apple or who else made the second there.
McIntosh.
Mr. McIntosh, thank you very much. We have a motion and we have a second. May we have a motion, please? I don't believe we have to keep it open for other nominations, do we, Kelly? I think if we have a motion and a second, we're good to go to a vote. Is there any discussion? Very good. Kelly, welcome back. If you do the roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Joyner Woodard, yes. Miss Adams?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Brannon?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Apple?
Bill, I think you're muted there.
Yes. Yes.
Mr.
sorry.
Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Very good. Kelly, that sounded unanimous to me. And she nods. Very good. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for that nomination, Mary Joines. And I know I hope I speak for Ms. Adams in saying that thank you for your trust and allowing us to chair this committee. We deal with a lot of important issues and a lot of money moves through this group. So thank you very much for your continued trust that we'll do the right things for all the residents in our metropolitan area. All righty, members, you did receive the minutes from our November 16th meeting. You've had a chance to review them. Are there any changes or additions? And if not, we'll entertain a motion to waive the reading and approval.
Move for approval, Chair Horn.
Second, McIntosh.
Very good. We have a motion by Ms. Adams, a second by Mr. McIntosh. Any discussion? All righty, Kelly, if you do the roll, please.
Mr. Joines,
Yes.
Ms. Adams voted yes, Mr. McIntosh voted yes, Mr. Brannon,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Horn, Mayor Horn. Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes, Kelly.
Mr. Rick Morris, Mr. Morris, Mr. Willie Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
I believe we have, oh, there's Mayor Horn.
Hey, Kelly. Yes, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I muted myself. I'm an affirmative.
That concludes it. I believe it is unanimous.
Very good. Thank you. All righty. John, I believe you have the next item on our agenda. You're up.
I do. Good afternoon, Chairman Horn and TAC members. This action before you is for the FY 2024-2033 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Plan MTIP amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. There are 9 projects listed, 5 for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO and 4 statewide projects that were included in the item in handout in your book. This item was subject to a 30-day public review between December 11th and January 11th, and no public comments were received. Are there any questions?
Any questions for John? If not, we'll entertain a motion, please.
Move approval of item C4.
Second, McIntosh. Chairman Allen.
Yes, sir. Mayor Jones, was that a comment or a second?
Second.
Very good. We have a motion by Ms. Adams, a second by Mayor Joines. Any discussion? All those in favor, please respond when Kelly calls your name.
Mr. Jones voted yes, Ms. Adams voted yes, Mr. McIntosh,
Aye.
Mr. Brannon,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
It is unanimous.
That sounded unanimous. Thank you very much, members. John, I believe you also have our next item, which is a resolution approving letters of support
Yes, this action item is for letters of support for 3 Davidson County agencies seeking Section 5310 funding through NCDOT. These are the Workshop of Davidson, Life Center of Davidson County, and Davidson County Department of Senior Services, which provide transportation services for seniors and individuals with disabilities within the metropolitan planning area and in rural areas of Davidson County. Only services provided in the urbanized area of the MPO are eligible for funding by the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. For areas outside of the MPO urbanized area, these providers can apply for funding through the state Section 5310 funding program. These letters of support acknowledge the Workshop of Davidson, Life Center of Davidson County, and Davidson County Department of Senior Services desires to participate in the state's competitive selection process for services provided outside the MPO's urbanized area. Copies of each of the agency's letter of support are included in the TAC book and will be included in their application to NCDOT. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions for John? If not, we'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Mr. Apple makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes the second. Any discussion? Kelly, will you please call the roll, please?
Mr. Joins,
Yes.
Ms. Adams voted yes. Mr. McIntosh,
Aye.
Mr. Brannon,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Apple voted yes. Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes. I
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
That sounds unanimous. Thank you very much. Kelly, I believe you have the final action item on our agenda, which is our amendments to our Unified Planning Work Program.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, members of the committee. The item before you is a consideration to an amendment to our Unified Planning Work Program for the fiscal year 2023-2024. As you may know, as a transportation management area, we are required by FHWA, FTA, and NCDOT to develop a work program for the fiscal year and to amend it as projects change and tasks change throughout the year. This amendment is specific to a request from the city of Winston-Salem requesting that a project be moved from last fiscal year to this current fiscal year so that we stay current with the way in which we're expending the funds. And the other request was that we add some supplemental funding to the NPO's MTP-CTP plan, which we are in the process of advertising, or that we have selected a consultant, and we estimate that the funding will be insufficient unless we add this little bit of money to it. And then additionally, the other change is that there is a change in the description of one of the tasks where the NPO is going to be utilizing some of the already existing funding to create a database to help sort of efficiently track our projects from beginning to end so that we can have a better understanding of how much we're spending and what projects we're doing. And we're hoping to use a consultant to help us create a good database that will eventually be public facing as well.
Very good. Any questions for Kelly? If not, we'll entertain a motion, please.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second, McIntosh.
Ms. Adams makes the motion. Mr. McIntosh makes the second. Any discussion? If not, Kelly, the roll, please.
Mr. Joins,
Yes.
Ms. Adams voted yes, and Mr. McIntosh voted yes. Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Thank you. That sounded unanimous. So here's a question for you, members. If you've been paying attention, you've probably noticed that we have somewhat streamlined the presentation of our action items. Previously, we have read a substantial amount of background material, with all of that which is in your book, and we've cut the narrative down to the point where the staff member will present the action item, the rationale, and what action the TAC is requested to take. So the question for everyone is, was that sufficient enough of the presentation for you, or do you wish us to go back to the longer version where we do kind of spend a great deal of time in the narrative?
Succinct is always good.
I agree.
I think, Mr. Chair, too, that because we get the information, that part of our responsibility also is to read it. And if not read it, glean it, or have a staff person translate it back to you. But this is for information, but the meeting is for the action. So I'm good.
Very good. Anyone else? Is there anybody have any objection to kind of this new format? If not, well, staff, John and Kelly, thank you very much, because this was your first run at a synopsis, and I think you both did exceptionally well. So thank you very much. Righty, members, we're now to information items, and these will be items that will come before us at our next meeting. John, I believe you have the first one, which is our MTIP amendments and modifications.
Yes, this is an information item for the FY 2024-2033 MTIP amendments and modifications. The item in handout that was presented to the NCDOT Board of Transportation in December include our 13 projects, 6 Winston-Salem urban area MPO projects, and 7 statewide projects. This will be coming back to you in February as an action item at the TAC meeting, and is currently undergoing a 30-day public review that started on January 8th and it runs through February the 8th. Are there any questions?
Any questions for John? Thank you. Kelly, I believe you have the next informational item.
Yes, sir. Again, the item before you is a review now of our next fiscal year's Unified Planning Work Program for the MPO. As I mentioned, we are required to, as a transportation management area, to develop a planning work program in coordination with FHWA, FTA, and NCDOT that lists the tasks that we intend to accomplish for the next fiscal year. It also outlines specific studies and projects that communities would like to develop during the next fiscal year. At this time, included in your packet is a draft of that plan. I'm expecting to hear from more of your communities about any studies that you think that might be warranted, transportation studies that you think might be warranted for your communities. They will be presented at our next meeting for action. Just as a note, for any study that's added to the Unified Planning Work Program, the community is responsible for the 20% match.
Very good. Any questions for Kelly? Members, if you've, and I know all of you have taken a moment to look through this program of work, it is quite extensive. And I remind all of us every meeting that we are dealing with some big dollars, and we're dealing with some very important issues that are essential to our communities that we represent. And staff, you have laid out a very ambitious program for this next year. I know you'll do well, but if you haven't looked through it, folks, please do, because it tells us a lot about what we're supposed to be doing. All righty. Kelly, I believe you have the next item. Is that correct? Yes.
That is correct. So every year, according to FHWA and just the USDOT guidelines, we are supposed to self-evaluate and review to make sure that we are conducting transportation planning processes that are addressing the major issues within our area. That's called self-certification. The NCDOT provides us with a checklist that we go over and verify that we are still complying with all FTA and FHWA guidance, which we are. So this is just an information item to that effect. This will come back for action at our next meeting, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kelly at this time? All righty. Rwanda, where are you? There you are, down the bottom left-hand corner. Next item is
Hi.
yours.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor Horn and TAC. My name is Redwana, and before you is a review of the fiscal year 25 congestion mitigation and air quality improvement program, or CMAC, and fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2024 carbon reduction program projects for the Winston-Salem urban area MPO. So CMAC and CRP are both federal programs that fund transportation projects to reduce emissions. So CMAC focuses on criteria pollutants that are outlined in the Clean Air Act, and the CRP is from the bipartisan infrastructure law and focuses on carbon dioxide. So this year's call for projects is going to program about $3.8 million across these two programs, and about 47.8% of that is from fiscal year 25 CMAC funding, and 52.2% of that is about $2 million from fiscal year 22, 23, and 24 CRP funding. So there were 6 candidate projects totaling about $4.8 million that were submitted for funding consideration for this year's call for projects. And we used 3 criteria to evaluate these projects. So the first was the emissions reductions as calculated by the Forsyth County Office of Environmental Assistance and Protection, which was about between 50 and 75% of the application. And then we used the quantitative checklist by the MPO, which was about 25% of the application. And then the third component was qualitative, and it was the project narratives as ranked by the project selection committee, which also represented 25% of the application. We ranked the 6 projects and give their funding recommendations below. So for City of Winston-Salem's Greenway Wayfinding Signage Project, we recommend full funding in the amount of $504,000. For City of Kings Downtown to Main Street Sidewalk Project, we recommend full funding in the amount of $344,320. For City of Winston-Salem's Multi-Use Path West, we also recommend full funding in the amount of $1.6 million. For City of Winston-Salem's Salem Parkway Controlled Access Street Lighting Upgrades, we recommend full funding in the amount of $800,000. For City of Kings Ingram Drive Sidewalk Project, we recommend full funding in the amount of $200,000. And Village of Clemens requested $1,344,000 for their Marty Lane Sidewalk project, and we are recommending partial funding in the amount of $232,223. And we also have one additional project that did not go through the ranking process that I listed. And this is from last year, and it was the Village of Clemens EV purchase. And we are recommending full funding for that at $124,000. And attached is the table, which summarizes the funding recommendations. It has the project applications, and it also has documentation of the fiscal year 2025 for CMAC and fiscal years 2022 to 2024 for CRP program allocations. And what I'm requesting of you is that you approve and adopt these projects at these aforementioned funding levels. And pending your approval, these projects will be submitted to NCDOT for their approval and then later programmed into the MTP. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
I have one question for the entities that are requesting EV funding as part of this. Does any portion of that funding address infrastructure funding for chargers and so forth?
As far as I understand it, these were for the purchase of the lightning trucks.
Okay, all
So
right.
I don't think infrastructure was part of this request. It's from last year's call for projects, and there were some things that needed to be addressed with FWHA,
Yes,
I think.
yes. Okay, thank you very much.
To answer your specific question, DOT has received a grant from the federal government to look at infrastructure throughout the state of North Carolina. That grant is being evaluated right now in terms of how we're going to be able to execute that. But that's where the infrastructure activities will occur from that grant.
That's good information to know. Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Again, this will be coming to us next month for consideration. Rwanda, I guess you have the next item too, please.
Okay, so yes, for this item, I'm requesting your review of the targets for safety performance measures established by NCDOT and amending the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So the Highway Safety Improvement Plan has identified the following measures and targets for 2024 to reduce total fatalities by about 26%, to reduce fatality rate by about 27%, to reduce total serious injuries by about 34%, to reduce the serious injury rate by about 36%, and to reduce the total non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries by about 33%. So in your packet, we have included these targets. And Brian and Brian from NCDOT are going to be presenting for us in February. And what I'm asking is that we amend the MTP to adopt these safety targets.
Very good. Any questions? I know Ms. Adams will be keenly reviewing these numbers. She has an important interest in safety, so we'll expect some questions from her for sure. Any other questions? So I have a question. Ridwana, is this your first presentation for us? I think it is, isn't it?
I think it is too.
Well, congratulations. You did a terrific job. Pat yourself on the back. Take the rest of the day off.
Thank you.
Don't listen to that.
Hunter, I believe you have item number 12 for us.
Yes, sir, and good afternoon, Mayor Horn and members of the TAC. The item before you, item number 12, is the review of the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO Socioeconomic 2022 Base Year Update for the Piedmont Triad Regional Model. The update of the Piedmont Triad Regional Model is required as part of the MPO's updates to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Comprehensive Transportation Plan. As you may be aware, the MPO is set to embark on the production of the next MTP to begin sometime this spring or summer of 2024 and into 2025. The PTRM plays a vital role in identifying our transportation deficiencies and programming transportation needs, with the resulting outputs ultimately informing the MTP and CTP projects. One of the first things that has to occur as part of the model update itself, though, is the adoption of the 2022 socioeconomic base year data that's in front of you today, along with the forecast of future horizon years for 2030, 2040, and 2050. The socioeconomic data for the model includes employment data, population data, household data, and school data. The attached report was prepared by our colleagues at the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, or PART, and guests from PART will be here at next month's meeting on February 15th to speak in greater detail about the memo that you see attached here, as well as the role of the Piedmont Triad Regional Model in all of our MPO processes. Happy to take any questions on this item.
Very good. Any questions for Hunter? We're going to make the assumption that Scott is going to be with us because we haven't seen his face in a while, so we look forward to seeing you, Scott. Will you be the presenter?
Yes, sir. I plan to be there for next meeting. Have a little presentation, but you got quite a few, so we'll go through it pretty quick. It'll be very similar to what we share with the board in November.
Very good. I'll be sure and wear a tie for your presence.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions on that item? All righty. Hunter, I believe you also have our last informational item.
Yes, indeed. The item before you is item number 13, the review of a request to transfer allocated surface transportation block grant direct attributable funds from project HL0016 to project BL0020 and EB5956, meanwhile amending the 2024 through 2033 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program. So what this means is that in previous calls for STB-GDA funding through the MPO, the TAC has previously authorized programming for multiple projects within the town of Walkertown. Those projects include HL0016, and that's the Pine Hall Road / Main Street Intersection Improvement Project, BL0020, the Depot Street Sidewalk, and EB5956, the Sullivan Town Road Multi-Use Path Project. According to our latest records from the STIP, or State Transportation Improvement Program, we have about $492,000 in STBG funding programmed towards HL0016, or that Pine Hall Road / Main Street Intersection Project. Following a resolution by the town of Walkertown in February 2023 and a request to the MPO citing increased project costs, the MPO is now recommending the cancellation of project HL0016 and transferring the remaining $492,000 in STBG funding in equal parts to each of those projects. So the Depot Street Sidewalk, BL0020, and EB5956, the Sullivan Town Road Multi-Use Path Project. Adoption of the resolution would amend our MTIP accordingly. Happy to take any questions on this one.
Any questions? If not, once again, members, these items will be coming to us in February. It'll again appear in our briefing booklet, so pay attention. There's a lot of good information in there. And Mr. Hutchins, I think I'm going to want to get a hold of you and talk to you about your brilliant idea to combine projects with the increase in costs that we're seeing. So expect a call from me. Righty.
Happen.
Very good. All righty. Members, we do have a lengthy list of presentations that you can request. This is ordinarily available for your information. If you have a particular request for a presentation, please say so. If not, I do want to recognize Hunter real quick, because I think, Hunter, you have some MPO calendar of activities you want to call to our attention.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I believe on page 295 of your book, you'll find the Winston-Salem MPO Transportation Planning Calendar of Activities. And the main thing that I wanted to call your attention to was our ongoing call for projects for the Surface Transportation Block Grant and Transportation Alternatives programs. That's open through 11:59 p.m. on February 6th, 2024. We've spoken to a lot of the municipalities on this call, but we wanted to encourage you to get your applications in by that point. The other thing that we wanted to note is we know that sometimes getting council approval for that 20% match can take some time in between meetings and such. So we ask that while you do submit the application by February 6th, and we've given the technical coordinating committee the same instruction, while you do submit by February 6th, the actual proof of the 20% local match commitment by the elected body can be turned into us on March 31st. So we're hoping that that gives everyone a little bit more time to get over that particular hurdle of the application process. Also, please note that 20% local match requirement applies to all. And then I guess the last pitch that I would make for this particular call for projects is if you're seeing costs increase for your projects in your municipalities, we ask that you consider applying for supplemental funding through this particular call for projects. And I'm happy to speak with any of your staff on application questions that they might have, and the instructions for how to access those application materials are in this packet. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Hunter. Any questions for Hunter? All righty. Members, are there any particular reports that you would like to call out at this time? I know we always recognize Mr. Ivy to see if he has anything exciting to say to us. Mr. Ivy, do you have anything that's noteworthy at this point?
Actually, Mayor, just a couple of items. We've got a couple of new projects on the list. Just want to highlight those to you. U6003, which is the Piney Grove Connector in Kernersville. That project was awarded by the Board of Transportation to Triangle Grading and Paving. Also, the widening of Old Hollow Road in Walkertown, U 5824, was also awarded to Yates Construction. And then the replacement of the bridge over Muddy Creek on Old Salisbury Road was also awarded to Smith Road. So those are three new additions to our list here. Everything else is self-explanatory, pending any questions. But I would like to recognize our board member, Mr. Perkins, who has a little announcement for everybody.
Mayor Horn and the rest of the members of the committee, Pat Ivy and I have invited the whole Board of Transportation to visit Winston-Salem in September. We will be here in full force on September the 4th and 5th, and our objective is to meet with the leadership of this great region, as well as to talk about some initiatives that we have and just see what's going on in Winston-Salem. So we look forward to your participation, and we'll get the additional information as we work out the details. But we're looking forward to inviting the Board of Transportation to Winston-Salem September the 4th and 5th.
Excellent. That's exciting news, Mr. Perkins. I like that a lot. Members, if you remember last October, we did have an in-person meeting and we entertained the North Carolina Director of Rail Service,
Correct.
Rail Projects. And at that time, we were real concerned because there was a substantial grant award getting ready to happen for corridor studies. And I truly believe that your participation in that and having those folks here in Winston-Salem to meet with us and see what we have here resulted in a favorable recommendation for Winston-Salem Raleigh to be included in the corridor study. So, Mr. Perkins, we will be there in force to support you and Mr. Ivy and whatever you'd like us to do.
We look forward to it. As a matter of fact, I think most of you have heard now, but we did receive $1.2 billion from the rail folks in Washington to look at the corridor from Raleigh up to the border of Virginia. So in addition, Virginia got a $700 million on top of that. So we've got really about $2 billion worth of work to look at how we can improve that corridor and get a little higher speeds on it.
That's great. Very good. Any questions for Mr. Ivy or Mr. Perkins? If not, members, our next meeting is February 15th. Look forward to seeing you. As always, thank you for giving up time out of your day. I know it's valuable. We do, as I say, important work here. Each one of you brings something unique and special to the table, and your opinions are greatly valued. If there are no other business to come before the TAC today, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mike, I just wanted to let you know I came in late, but I'm here on the call. Sorry.
Thank you, Dan.
Move for adjournment.
Second, Alan.
Very good. We have a motion by Ms. Adams, a second by Mayor Joins. Kelly, I'm always confused. Do we need to have a vote on this one? She's shaking her head.
Just leave.
And Ms. Adams is shaking her head. I see a lot of head shaking. So thank you very much, members. We look forward to seeing you in February. Everybody have a good rest of your month.